r/AskReddit. What really obvious thing have you only just realized? That the phrase mint condition means like new, because it's the condition coins leave the mint in. Wow, I always thought it meant mint condition, because mint makes you feel fresh. That when I was a kid and my dad would take me to the video store on Friday nights and he would go into the back room where only adults were allowed, that he was looking at porn. I must have been around 11 to 12 years old when I realized that in order of appearance during the end credits of movie doesn't list the actors/actresses by who is the most good looking. I learned a couple years ago that it's not the mayor of bad news, it's actually the bearer of bad news. I'm 25. Cilantro and coriander are the same plant. One time I was at a restaurant with a friend, sharing salsa and chips. I commented that the salsa had a very strong cilantro flavor, and she commented she couldn't taste anything other than coriander. We debated the issue for a few minutes, in disbelief that the other person was tasting something completely different, and couldn't pick up on the taste the other thought was prominent. When I saw coriander seeds at the store a few weeks later, I bought them to see what taste she had been talking about, and then the truth clicked. I mean, at least you guys weren't arguing about how the salsa does or doesn't taste like soap. Definitely cold bean worse. I only just today realized that the walk the plank on a boat is not a special edition pirates added to their ships as a means of public execution that looked like a little wooden diving board. It is, in fact, the very same plank as the gangplank you'd normally use to get on and off of the ship. It is not the presence of the plank that is threatening, but the absence of dock. Until recently I also thought that, despite the obvious name, being keelhauled meant you were just thrown off the boat and left behind. I didn't realize they tied you to a line, threw you off, and dragged you under the ship's keel. Shout out to Alice Storm's keelhauled 4 Mile 8 education. The first time I visited the USA I was on my own, and in New York, and going to all the museums. I kept seeing signs that said no strollers and thought, because we call strollers prams in the UK, that you guys are super strict about the proper amount of attention required to visit a museum. I actually pretended to show more interest than I had and ought not to be thugged over some deadbeat out for a casual stroll. It wasn't until about day 3 that I saw a no strollers sign that included a graphic for idiots. Edit. Woohoo. Thanks for the gold and silver and 40x the karma. At calling someone simple is just a nice way of calling someone stupid. Wife informed me of this after 28 years of my grandma calling me simple. Simple could also mean uncomplicated or not conniving, but maybe I'm just naive. That you have to add a can of water to Campbell's soup. Apparently I've been drinking straight condensed soup. Don't let people lie to you. Eat it straight from the can. I realized at the age of 26 that narwhals are real because they were on an Octonauts episode. I walked into the room and was like, I thought they only do real animals on this show. Then the kid's dad said, you're joking, right? I kept seeing the same Chinese characters on restaurant signs and I always wanted to know what it meant. A week ago I found out they mean restaurant. I used to always pour water into our coffee maker 1 glass at a time. It was such a pain in the ass, especially to fill the reservoir to the number of cups I wanted. Until I realized I could just fill the carafe with water, which has the exact same measurements, and pour the water in that way. I recently realized I was allergic to carrots. I just thought they made everyone's mouth numb, you know, just like almonds. I also learned recently that I have an almond allergy. Same here. Thought that raw hazelnuts don't taste good because they give this weird tingle in your mouth. Found out I had a nut allergy when it suddenly turned from tingle to anaphylaxis, and I ended up in hospital for eating nut chocolate. I always thought you can't have your cake and eat it. Too was a weird saying because why wouldn't I be able to eat my freaking slice of cake? It's my cake. Nobody was telling me that I can't have my cake. Turns out they mean you can't eat the cake while also still retaining it. Once it is eaten, it is gone. An idiom I did not understand until this year. I'm 27. Edit. Thank you for the silver, kind stranger. The Italian version of this is you can't have a full bottle and a drunk wife or something along those lines. This sounds ridiculous, but I recently found out about the term knee-jerk reaction. My whole life I had been saying it how I heard it and just figured it was spelled something like knee-jerk reaction, like it was some psychology term. English is not my first language, so I was mind blown when I realized how keys, kiss, he's, his, this, these, etc. differed in sound, pronunciation. I first noticed this when I told my boyfriend I wanted a keys and he looked very confused lol. Now I try my best to pronounce them properly. Edit. Grammar. Imagine if you'd made that mistake when ordering peas. My whole life I thought pay-per-view was actually pay-per-view because I had only ever heard people say it and only recently saw it written out. My boyfriend did not know that his electric toothbrush has a timer on it that goes off at 1 minute and 2 minutes. He actually returned it and got a new one thinking it was broken since the timer is just a brief sort of pause/reduction in the vibration. He would be like WTF, I literally just charged this fucking thing thinking that the battery was already dying. One day, and I can't remember exactly what the conversation was, I brought up how I liked that my toothbrush let me know when I had brushed long enough, and it was like a light bulb went off in his head and suddenly he put it together that was what his toothbrush was doing all along. That big ships we got to turn as a kid was not actually controlling the cruise ship. This jogged my memory of something. When I was around 13, I was on a flight with a bunch of other kids. I fell asleep during the flight, but woke up during some turbulence. A couple kids near me saw me wake up startled and made a big show of saying whoa, I can't believe the pilot did a barrel roll. A few other people I talked to about it confirmed it, and it took me embarrassingly far into adulthood to realize some people were just messing with me. I mean, a pilot on a commercial flight wouldn't do that, right? I realized that to be in one's birthday suit it means to be without clothes. I thought for the longest time it was a specific set of clothes you would wear on your birthday each year. I found out when I asked, what happens when you don't fit in your birthday suit anymore? Lol. Stretch marks happen. Edit. Thank you kind strangers. My first awards. For the longest time, I always thought prima donna was prima donna. Me too. My mother would call me that, and I thought she meant I was going to be a whore. Well, are you? I was 28 before I realized the meaning to the why is 6 afraid of 7 joke. I always just thought it was dumb. 7, 8, 9. Like you're just counting. The electric bill wasn't paid until later in my life. I didn't realize time flies like an arrow, fruit flies like a banana wasn't absurdist humor until college. The reason the cord hook on the vacuum spins is so you can take the whole cord off at once instead of unraveling it one loop at a time, like I have been my whole life. Edit. I learned how to spell cord today, and if you wind it up as a figure 8 between the 2 hooks, when you turn the hook down and take off the whole cord, it won't get tangled up as you vacuum. Edit. My first silver for a vacuum cord comment. That parents have children write letters to Santa so they can figure out what to buy them for Christmas. I can't believe how I never put that together after 32 years on this earth. I just thought it was fun little tradition. In Sweden we put those letters in the post box with mail headed to the North Pole. My bedroom door was broke and I finally got around to fixing it. Thought the knob was broke cause it was pushed in towards the door, so I pulled it out and realized that was how you lock the door. As a small child, like maybe age 4, my family told me the powder room door at my grandparents' house didn't lock. I had a reputation for accidentally locking myself into places, so they didn't want me locking myself in there, I guess. I was 18 before I accidentally locked the door just like that, realized how it worked and emerged from the bathroom mortified and amused that I had gone all those years thinking the door just didn't lock. No one even remembered lying to me about the lack of lock. It called Men's Warehouse and not Men's Warehouse. It's been a couple years since I realized this, and I just think that's a clever name. What the fuck, I just looked it up and I still don't believe you. For a long time I thought to bust a nut meant that you were going to kick a guy in the balls or beat him up. So anytime I was getting worked up or angry talking about some guy I would say I'm going to bust his fucking nut, not knowing the real meaning. Nobody ever said anything, but it was always followed by my friends laughing, so I assumed it was because I was being dramatic. Years go by and my coworker is telling me about some rude person he met, and I said you should definitely bust that guy's nut, to which he paused and said, do you even know what that means? Suffice it to say I was extremely embarrassed and horrified when he explained it to me. Edit. Oh wow, thank you for the silver. Glad my first silver had to do with busting a nut. Peas. For those who are asking, to bust a nut, where I'm from, means to ejaculate everywhere or jerk someone else off. Super embarrassing, but in college I would order Roman Cokes because I heard everyone else ordering the same. Turns out I misheard everyone and found out it was just rum and coke. A Roman Coke does sound like a great drink though. That's it folks, you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed the video.